Welcome to tonight's regular council meeting for March 11th, 2026. Before we call the meeting to order, I would like to take a moment to have a moment of silence for somebody we all know and respect in this room, for Bruce Hubbard. Bruce Hubbard was a former councillor, devoted volunteer for our communities, he embodied the word service to community. So I think I'd just like to be able to take a moment of silence to honor him, please. Thank you. Okay. We will call the meeting to order. This evening, we do not have regrets. Number 2 on the agenda, we have the invitation to stand and move at any time. If anybody feels like they need to get up and move around, feel free to do so. Number 3, we have the agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda? Councillor Foster.
Yes, I have 3 items actually I'd like to add to the agenda. They're not very lengthy, but there's safety hazard, tree obstruction at Lent's Corner in Tuscot. I don't know if perhaps Chantal would have that in writing already for the purpose of entering it onto the agenda. Also, flooding in Tuscot at the fork of Highway 3 and 308. And the third item would be end of Highway 308 South, Morris Island. And the first 2 are letters that I wrote to my fellow colleagues or fellow councillors. Also, the third letter is a response that I received from our MLA, Colton LeBlanc.
Okay.
So I would like to put these on the agenda to make the public aware of what's going on with these issues, because I've had some complaints or concerns expressed to me. Thank you.
So we can add them under 11E, 11F, and 11G if that is okay with council. If council is okay with that, is somebody willing to make a motion to approve our agenda as it is amended? Okay, moved by Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Bourque. Any questions on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Next, we have conflict of interest declaration. Does anybody have any conflicts of interest to declare on any of the agenda items this evening? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on, but knowing you can declare conflict at any time on any of the agenda items. Number 4, we have a presentation this evening. So this evening, we have a presentation, Festival Acadien de Wedgeport, Albert A. Pache and J. Israel Pache Monument. We have 2 lovely guests here who are wanting to make a presentation, so welcome. We'll just get you to press your microphone button. We'll have you introduce yourselves as well for our public.
Introduce ourselves?
Yes,
okay.
please.
I'm Cyril Leblanc, president of the Festival Acadien de Wedgeport.
And I'm Diane Jacquard, and I've been working with Cyril on this project.
Perfect. Thank you. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. So thank you very much for hearing us this evening. And thank you also in the past for the support you've been giving to our festival. The project, the Albert A. Potier, Agapi, or some people pronounce Agapit, Potier in Israel, Potier, is a project of the Festival Acadien de Wedgeport, and it is to be situated at the founding families of Wedgeport site, which was a project of the festival in 1992, the 225th anniversary of Wedgeport. So you might be surprised that we're looking after monuments like this, but we were also responsible to buy the Butte de la Croix, the historical site in Wedgeport in 1990, and then we were also responsible for building the museum. That was a project of, a temporary museum was a project of the 225th, the Festival Acadien Wedgeport. We had $36,000 left from the celebrations, and we put that towards the museum. And right now, we're also taking care of the monument site and the historical site, Le But de la Croix. So it's still the festival that does that. So first of all, Albert A. Potier of Wedgeport was the second Acadian from Yarmouth County elected to the Nova Scotia Legislative Assembly. He served from 1894 to 1897. His election was after the Acadians in Nova Scotia were granted the right to vote and be elected as legislative members. So that was the right as Catholics to be accepted. Now, the first Acadian elected in Nova Scotia, and I see Kat is smiling, first Acadian MLA served from 36 to 40, and he was from East Pumlico. So that's why. And also, maybe you don't know this, but Albert was followed by another Acadian from East Pumlico after he was defeated, Henry S. LeBlanc, in 97 to 1911. So there was two. There was one before him and then one after him from East Pumlico. And Albert was a sergeant in the 165th Acadian Battalion of the Canadian Army during the First World War. He said he was younger than he actually was in order to serve in the battalion with three of his sons, Luc, Charles, and Cyril, and they served in Europe. But while there, they changed the battalion. They weren't in the battalion anymore. After his father died, he became part owner of three uncles of the Wedgeport Potier fishing and shipping enterprise in North America and the Caribbean. This was Wedgeport's greatest economic time. He was an elected MLA, soldier, teacher, general merchant, bookkeeper, farmer, and fishing officer. Now he is buried in Como's Hill, the home of his second wife, Marie-Jeanne née de Villers. Now I'll ask Diane to give her relations with Albert.
When Cyril asked me to present about Marie-Jeanne, and I'll call her Aunt Mary, that's what I knew her as. I thought to myself, how would I divide this up and how would I look at the two of them? And I decided that with both of them, they had a first act and then they had a second act. The first act for Albert was that, he was born in Wedgeport, he grew up in Wedgeport. His first wife was Céline, and, he had 6 children, and they made their life in Wedgeport. And you heard Cyril say the accomplishments of what he had done. Now, Céline, his wife, died in 1913, and then the war came, and he went to war. And then when he came back is when my great-aunt and him married. Now, my great-aunt grew up in Como's Hill, was born in Como's Hill. Her father was Gervais de Villers, and she lived on what is now 98 East Hill Road. And that's where she grew up. She married. Her first husband was Reuben Gardner from Yarmouth. And they got married in Boston because she married a non-Catholic. So it wouldn't have been a popular thing at that time. So they came back and they did build a house in Como's Hill, and it's on West Hill Road. The house is still there. And Reuben Gardner suddenly died when he was 44 years old, leaving Marie-Jeanne without a husband, without an income. And she went to work at what we all know as the cotton mill. And she worked there probably for 6-7 years. And Now, in 1919, somehow, I don't know how they met, I've never been able to figure it out, but they probably knew each other before. They probably knew each other from her going to the store in Wedgeport. Because from what I understand, she was quite a character and she liked to not be home. She liked to travel. So they married in 1919 at St. Ambrose. And from there, they went to Guysborough, where they lived for about 60 years. And he was a fishery officer there, and I don't think she worked, she stayed home. And in 1925, they came back to Comoes Hill when he retired. And they came back to what is now 98 East Hill Road, her home where she grew up. And her father was still alive, Jarva, so she took care of Jarva. And eventually she had to take care of Albert. Albert became very ill. In the last 5 years of his life, he had throat cancer. And it's not like now. And from what I understand from the stories I've heard, he was a very sick man. And he died in 1931, and he is buried in St. Gabriel Cemetery in Comoes Hill. And Marie-Jeanne never remarried, she never married again, and she lived in the house where she was born for approximately an extra 30 years. She died when she was 96 in 1963. And, we've always known about Albert. I didn't know who he was, but we knew Albert, the name Albert, and I guess I remembered it because of the Agapi. It was such a different name that, it was like, oh yeah, that's Albert, Agapi. But, I've come across articles there in the Argus for the summer, fall of 2010. There's a J.H. Porter and Company, Wedgeport. It talks about the business. It talks about his family. It goes through the uncles and how they lost the business and the whole thing. So it's really a good article. Albert left behind when he passed away. I don't know where his family was. I've never been able to figure out why some of the papers didn't go to his children. But he left, we had his, of course, his last will and testament. We came across this when my grandparents died. His last will and testament, his teaching license, because he did teach. Deeds, he had there was all kinds of deeds. It was interesting reading. I don't remember now what it said. Other papers, stuff from his employment when he was in Guysborough County, bills from the hospital when he was sick. And I put that all together into a folder, and it's now at the archives in Tusky. So if anyone wants to go see his papers, that's where they're at. We do have some of their furniture that's left over. Wedding rings, my brother actually wears one of their wedding rings. He got married with their wedding ring. Books, we have a couple of books that were his, but he had a whole chest of books, but they got spoiled. They left them in the barn and they got all moldy and they were. And one of the things that we do have that we were never allowed to touch, and to tell you the truth, until 5 years ago, I'd never tried it on my head because we weren't allowed to touch it, was when he was in the legislature, his top hat. That's his top hat. And he must have had a really small head because it isn't very big. But it's been hidden, wrapped up, hidden in a box and in the back of a closet for the last 100 years.
So the picture you have on your page is from the legislature, taken in 1895. And we got that from the archives. So we're quite fortunate to have that. His house, by the way, is still standing in Wedgeport. It's two houses north of the Chapacal. So the house is still standing. Anyway, I'll continue with.
You go on,
I'll continue with, and then I must say also that I discovered that he was buried in Comoes Hill, and he was a veteran, and I was active with Audrey Boudreau in the Legion, and it's Alice Clermont that gave me the information that he was buried in Comoes Hill. So, and after that, we resurfaced the monument to say that he's an MLA, and he was in the Bataillon Acadien, so we resurfaced that, so we're quite happy with that. Now, the second one is again a Poche from Wedgeport, and he was the second Sergeant at Arms in the legislature. So, and that was between 1950 and 1957. He was one of only 2 Acadians to serve in this capacity. And the other one was a Rudolph Como from Clare, named in 46. As a Canadian Army captain, he was the highest-ranking Acadian officer during the Second World War, as far as we know in Nova Scotia. He also served in the non-permanent active militia from 1929 to 1939. So he had the advantage of becoming an officer because he had already served before, and besides, he also went to University, the Collège Saint-Anne. So that helped him to get in. And there were 2 others from Wedgeport, 2 other Poches that became officers. One had graduated from St. Anne, and the other one had gone, Bernard Potier, had gone to Collège Saint-Anne also. So we were fortunate to have 3 officers, and they happened to be all Poches. He served as a Wedgeport Town Councillor, resigning in 1939 to join the war effort. You know, Wedgeport used to be a town from 1910 to 49. He was also Argyle Municipal Councillor from 1950 to 1961. During his tenure, the council built the consolidated schools at Saint-Anne-de-Ruisseau, West Pumlico, Argyle, and Wedgeport. He was always very proud of that, the accomplishments at that time. That was something major at that time for our area. His last job before retiring at 80 years old was weed inspector for the Municipality of Argyle. Now, weed inspector at that time was an important because lots of family farms, and he took everything seriously. And he did all the research. He was fantastic like that. And he was the first manager of the Wedgeport Tuna Guides Club from 1936 to 39 and also 54 to 65. He was a founding member of the Nova Scotia Bird Society, the Wedgeport Legion, and the Wedgeport Knights of Columbus. He was a marksman, military marksmanship instructor, a dedicated hunter, a tourism entrepreneur, and a clerk in his father's store, which he eventually owned. He was considered the Baden Powell of Wedgeport. He received an honorary doctorate from University of Saint-Anne, and he is buried in Wedgeport. So the photos on the right are him, and that's in the first one is in the legislature, the second one is with Emily, his wife, and the third one we got from the archives here in Tuscany when he was a municipal councillor. So we're very, very happy to be able to do this for them. Now, the cost estimate by Des Moines Monuments is $11,400. Funding requested of Argyle Municipality is $7,000, so we're asking you for $7,000. Other funding is through wind turbines funds and the festival fundraising for a total of $4,400. So if the municipality accepts the request, the monument can be done and installed this year, 2026. So this again is the project of Wedgeport Festival Acadien, Wedgeport. Now, letters of support, the first one is from Paul Potier, the president of Wedgeport Tuna Museum. Second paragraph, while numerous citizens have played vital roles in our community's development, it is imperative to recognize these 2 individuals for the foundational leadership that catalyzed our collective progress. Establishing this monument would serve as a permanent, high-impact tribute to the specific civic values that justify this investment in our shared heritage. And the other one is from Peter Boudreau, and he used to be manager of the Tuna Club also. So remembering and honor, second paragraph, remembering and honoring local people who have contributed to the general development of our communities should always have a special place in our thoughts, and erecting a monument in their memory is one way to respect and appreciate their contributions. And now we have from Curtis Doucette, the president of the Wedgeport Legion. As you recognize that these two are veterans, and I'm involved with the Wedgeport Legion, and so is Audrey, and so is Alice, so this is quite important for us. We got a letter from Curtis Doucette, president of the Wedgeport Legion. He says, "This monument will be a wonderful addition to our community, and it will stand as a symbol of respect, remembrance, and gratitude. On behalf of the Wedgeport Legion and the community we serve, I fully support this project and encourage others to do the same." So, and the last letter is from Alice Clamont. She's here this evening. "I offer my full support for this proposed Albert A. Potier and J. Israel Potier monument. I'm especially pleased that Albert A. Potier and his wife Marie-Jeanne, née de Villers, will be honored. They lived and are buried in Como's Hill, where I am a community volunteer." Now, the last page is a sketch from Des Moines Monuments. And then we had a model made for this, and the width is 6 feet. The center is 4 feet, and this is a reproduction sort of the Nova Scotia legislature. So there'll be if you look at the Nova Scotia legislature, there's a crest in the front, and that'll be at the top. And they've put it on their sketch. You see the crest at the top.
It's my water.
You spilled your water.
I told you I shake.
And both ends are 1 foot wide, and so that'll be the total of 6, and the depth is 1.6. So on the left will be Albert, and we have a number of photos. We have a photo when he was in the legislature. We have a photo of him when he was a sergeant, and we have a photo of his sons also, and we have a photo of Marie-Jeanne. And then we'll have some writings also on that side. And then for Israel, we'll be on this side, and we have a number of photos for him too. We have the photos that's on the page, and then we have photos, and we have photos when he was municipal councillor, the nice photo that was on there, and we have photos of him when he was the manager of the Tuna Club, and then we have write-ups also, and we'll have a photo of his wife also, and the monument site, the first monument to the founding families of Wedgeport, there's a bronze plaque honoring the Acadian women. So it's important that we do that also with this, that we have the wives on there with them. So this is what roughly what it's going to look like. Now, it's going to be flush on the back. It's not flush here, but it's going to be flush on the back. And there's not going to be anything, maybe a design of a maple leaf and the fleur-de-lis, something like that, because the back is exposed to the lawn. So we don't want people to walk on the lawn to view the back. So that's all we're going to have. So everything will be on the front, and there's enough space also here. There's a foot there, so we can write, or we can have photos there too. And we're doing this in black because photos can be reproduced well on black. And all the other ones that we have at the monument site, they're in bronze, but we're not going to do the bronze for this. So I hope that it's quite important for us, and I hope that it's also important for you that we do this. And we are hoping that you can help us with this. I don't know if you have any questions or,
Let's see if we have any questions. Thank you very much. Very interesting, very, very informative. Are there any questions from councillors for any of the presenters this evening? Deputy Warden.
Just a comment. Hey, you've taken well care of that hat so far.
We've tried to find a place.
I think, yeah, you should continue to take care of it. That's all.
Because we put it back, it's been, basically where we keep it now, it's been there for 100 years.
Okay.
It's,
So it works.
yep, it works.
No one can see it though.
I know,
No.
Right.
Yeah, that's the
No.
only setback.
Yeah, that's the thing, we couldn't, I've inquired to the Yarmouth Museum, and they said, if we accept it, it'll just become part of our general, with no story to it. So it might end up on some mannequin's head in the background somewhere. I tried Tusket, but they say they take documents, but they don't take any artifacts. Now, Cyril had mentioned maybe University St. Anne's, and I haven't checked there yet. So it's, but we'd like to, because we'd like to see it go somewhere where the history will continue, because my brother owns the house now where it's at, and he has no children, he has no wife, and it will come to an end. And there's, no one's gonna know about it. So it's,
Thank you.
Councillor Boudreau.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Great presentation, Sarah and Diane.
thank you.
And just great that hopefully we'll be able to honor these men for a long time. Thank you.
Okay,
So our policy is when we get a presentation with a financial ask, we don't make a decision at that meeting.
That's right,
It gives
yeah.
us time to think about it, but it'll be something that'll come up at
Yeah.
a following meeting.
okay.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't worry about that.
Okay. Thanks.
I'm just curious where she got the Sobeys bag from.
That's another
It's
artifact.
rare as- it's
You're
almost
right.
as rare as that.
You should ask her.
I will.
All right, we're going to continue on. Number 5 on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. So 5A, we have the Executive Council meeting minutes from February 26, 2026. Were there any errors that anybody noted? Okay, seeing none, the minutes are approved as presented. Number 6, we have council announcements. Does anybody have anything that they would like to share this evening? Councillor Foster.
Yes. I guess I was a bit quick in pressing the button. I was thinking it was a presenting, how do we call that on previous agendas? Argyle recognized? I don't remember the exact wording.
Recognizing Argyle.
Recognizing Argyle. So anyway, I just want to make a quick mention, thanking the volunteers of the Hovers Point Community Hall. They had a recent fundraising dinner. It was sold out, unfortunately. It was sold out almost immediately. The volunteers made the roppy pies, made the seafood chowders, and it was a bit disheartening to see all the people show up when it was already sold out. And so that's another incredible group of volunteers who are doing an amazing job of keeping one of our community halls running. And, you know, that hall has now been in place for 26 years, believe it or not. And it's providing a wonderful service to the community. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll continue. Number 7, my warden's report is attached. Are there any questions on that one? Okay, seeing none, we'll continue on. Number 8, committee reports. We have meeting minutes for 8A, Argyle Recreation Commission, and 8B, the Joint Police Advisory Committee meeting minutes that are uploaded to the agenda. Any questions on those? Good. Number 9, we have 7-day notice. We have no 7-day notice on the agenda this evening. Number 10, old business. 10A, streetlight ownership. So under streetlight ownership, we have a memo. And I believe, is Renee here? Is Renee going to talk about the streetlights? I thought Renee was here.
He was here.
So basically, if we look at the memo that is attached to the agenda, it talks about the fact that we're still looking for information around how many streetlights we actually own as a municipality, because we're uncertain of that, and how much the costs are associated with the ownership of those streetlights. I think this has come about because we've had residents asking about wanting streetlights. So I think we've been working on kind of formalizing our policy and how we go about when people would like to have a streetlight put up. Are there any questions, comments? I know, Councillor Madden?
Thank you, Warden. I get a few requests about the streetlights, and all I can say is we're waiting for the policies and see what's coming up. Just going back, is there any history or thought or discussion about cost sharing with streetlights for residents, or anything at all that's been going on other than what we'll be getting here from NSPI?
Through you, Madam Chair, I don't have any recollection of any discussion around cost sharing. I think the history of this has been mostly we will pay for 100% of the streetlights, provided that they meet a certain criteria around safety, et cetera. That's been the history around the policy. I think that the previous councillors have raised the issue of expanding that service, but it's never actually occurred. So we didn't get to the point where we would talk about cost share, although what I would say is that's entirely possible that would happen. And you know, there's also the potential of area rates for certain areas that are impacted positively by streetlights. But all of that, I think we would work out as part of the policy, because I think like we're patiently waiting for some information there. Once we get that, I think we can build out the process and say, okay, well, what do you want as a council in terms of service? And then I think quite rightly we would talk about costs and how we would either share it or absorb it.
Another question, if I may. There is a group in Pumlico that sponsor streetlights, correct?
Yes, again, through you, Madam Chair, it has nothing to do with us. So what happened was, it was a group of, and I know that Councillor Digdon knows far more than I do, but it's a West Pumlico Improvement Society that owns, as a nonprofit organization, owns and pays for certain streetlights that they've chosen to put in their location. I know we discussed it here, but at the end of the day, it had nothing to do with us. So we don't regulate or monitor that in any way. And I think what we're seeing here is Nova Scotia Power saying, okay, if you want to get into this business, you need to get in this business, right? Which is just to take over some of these. And so that's still very much up in the air, but you're quite right to mention that there is a society that has done this, and there's other nonprofit organizations that do it in a much smaller scale. They might have one light, for instance, for their facility or whatever the case may be, but they're not doing it for the community necessarily. The only one that I know of is in the West Pumlico.
So that could happen if another committee wanted to do.
I can't, I mean, the answer to that is, really is it
It's not
depends on
through us, but
NSBI.
yeah.
Because it's not through us, like, so for us, absolutely, it could happen. But for NSPI, I'm not so sure how they would react to that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Warden.
Did you want to speak to the memo? Basically, all I explained is that we still don't know how many exactly that we own and the costs associated with that. But if you have anything else you'd like to add, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Warden. No, I think that covers it all. And as to your question, the nonprofit, I was told that nonprofits could still apply. So they could still apply on their own for streetlights. So we can't apply for streetlights, but if nonprofit groups meets the criteria, they could apply to get their own streetlights. So that's all the information right now. Like I said in the memo, everything's there, so I'm still waiting on correspondence from them, so.
Councillor Foster.
Yes. I met with an individual from Nova Scotia Power, and I just couldn't believe the amount of roadblocks that the gentleman kept putting up as to why this is such a difficult thing. I don't understand the reasoning. Why does the Municipality of Argyle have to take over all streetlights? What's the reasoning behind that, if they're going to put them in? I don't quite get it. Maybe somebody here does. I'd like to hear the reasoning. But I spent a long time with this individual, and it was one roadblock after another, and he said to me, I know we're not popular, but this is our policy and we're sticking to it. And if I understand correctly, in the municipality of Yarmouth, which is our neighboring municipality, they have somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,700 plus streetlights that they own and take care of, if I'm not mistaken.
1,100,
So
yeah.
do we have any in the municipality of Argyle that are grandfathered? I think we have probably, what, maybe less than 10? Yeah. So why, again, why this stubbornness? Why is this such a difficult issue? Well, I don't see the point that Nova Scotia Power is insisting on, really. Unless somebody can figure it out. I guess we have to work on this further.
Did you want to speak?
Yeah, thank you. Just through you, yeah, I wish I could answer that question because I've asked numerous questions and haven't gotten too far on them yet. As I said, I think we have four lights. So just for the understanding too, each light has its own bills, which each light has its own account number. So it's kind of hard. Like if you do have your own your home power bill, you can register to get it online. So like this, I was on the phone for over an hour just trying to get all four of them into one account registry. So other than that, I would have to open up 4 accounts. And so I don't know if the system's just a little outdated and that it's not just, search how many accounts, how many lights there are. They have to individually open each invoice and look to see if there's a street light on it. So that's probably where the backlash is coming from.
Deputy Warden Sonia.
Thank you, Warden. I'm just curious, you said we own just 4?
Right.
Right. Fire hose, who pays for those? To lights at fire hose?
They could be the ones, that could be the 4, but there's not a lot of fire hoses that are lit up. I think there might be 1 or 2 that's just there from Department of Public Works that ends up being in the right place at the right time when they put the light.
There's one at the Plymouth fire hole, it's
Yeah.
right on the fire hole itself, it's not on the road.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how many we have and what, who pays for it? Is it the fire department, is it us? There's lights here in this parking lot, and for
Yeah.
obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering what we do pay for, where are they?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, again, those that we have, so we don't own any, we rent them, and we have paid for streetlights in certain areas. I believe there was an area in Wedgeport that was a high danger spot. I remember it was on the stop sign area. I can't recall exactly where the civic address would be or the road. There's a couple like that, 2 or 3, where we might pay the monthly fee for, but that they are what I would consider to be community streetlights. And then the other ones would be the ones that we use for our own purposes. So I don't believe, but I could be wrong about this, that we rent a light for the fire ponds. I believe that if there is a light there, it's either something that was grandfathered in from Department of Transportation, or the fire department pays for it themselves. Or in other cases, we've had fire holes that are privately owned. So that it may be a situation where the private owner has paid for a light, though that's rather unlikely. But the fact of the matter is that our fire holes are owned by a variety of people. They're not necessarily all owned by the fire department. The policy of the municipality has always been not to get in this business. It doesn't mean that you can't get in this business, and I know that this all started with the fact that our policy, Nova Scotia Power was telling us that our policy could not be applied in the way that it was supposed to, as you recall.
Well, I'm questioning whether it's a business or safety issues. Because, for instance, what Councillor Foster's going to bring up in a while is the end of the Morris Island road, where it's a hazard, and there's probably going to be some lights put there, maybe by the Department of Highways, I don't know. But do we not, or should we have a responsibility in places of safety?
Through you, Madam Chair, the policy does address how we put lights up for safety purposes. So the staff would follow the policy, and the policy states that it is on a request basis. So if Councillor Saunier or a resident of an area has identified a place of extreme safety issues, they then make an application. And so that application would state things like there's accidents there, or there's like RCMP proof that there's accidents there, or other types of evidence to suggest that you have a safety issue there. And then staff does take a look at that situation and gets additional information, and if they agree, then the light is erected and we would pay for that light. But that's the extent of what our streetlight policy, or at least the one before, allowed at that time.
I've read that policy.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
if, certainly, I mean, there's been debate for many years whether or not you want to expand that policy. Right now, we have to change it because of NSP, but you may want to go further, and that certainly is a decision of council.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments on that? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to number 11 for decision and discussion. So 11A, we have request from the SAR Social Aid Committee. I put this on the agenda more for information rather than, there's no motion to be made, no decision to be made, but I wanted council to be aware of a conversation that myself and the CAO have been having. There is a new group that has been formed for the SAR Social Aid Committee. So Bruce Hubbard, who we honored, quietly for a moment of silence, was instrumental in ensuring that the Social Aid Committee was well-run and that our residents were well taken care of, whether it was a food bank or whether it was oil or whatever various needs. It was like an emergency situation. He was running the Social Aid Committee. Due to his illness, the group kind of took this on and decided that, they realized the importance of it and wanted to ensure that it continued. So they were, at the time when I received the letter, they were looking for a more permanent home for the food bank and for this group, and had basically not necessarily requested that council make a decision to help with this, but just they were reaching out looking for resources. They were looking to see, they were asking about zoning, if they built something. There was multiple questions. So through discussion, we've kind of worked on some leads and had some conversations, and they're trying to find a permanent home. And I know Councillor Madden has had conversations as well. They want a central location for this food bank. So it's always been in SAR, but we know that it doesn't just serve the people of SAR. It has served a broader range of people. So they were looking at a central location, not ruling out SAR, having different conversations. I just wanted to bring it to light in case you hear some rumblings in the community, and I wanted you to be aware that this was happening. I applaud them. They want to make sure that his legacy continues on and ensure that, I know how many times I have reached out to Bruce in the past for some of my residents and how vital it has been, a vital service, and it's important, they asked, so I'm definitely going to do whatever I can to help them find a location. Anything else? Did I miss anything?
Not from me.
Okay.
I don't know if others.
Councillor Madden?
Thank you, Madam Warden. Yes, I have been in conversation with Nikki, the letter writer here, and her group for probably 3 meetings now, and I was in discussion today because of this letter. So through the acadien, they have inspected and visited the site and liked pretty well what they saw and made us a proposal, but it's not inked yet.
Right.
So there is another place that they were interested in or not sure. But anyhow, I've been in conversation with them, and we would like to have them in the community as well. And where Bruce was in that community, it'd be nice. So it's, right now, it's all positive, but we're waiting to see that for next week. Their concern right now is taking care of Bruce. So thank you. I just let you know.
Thank you. Councillor Digdon?
Thank you. The only thing I was going to say, it's a great organization. They serve all of our municipality, and if they do come to us, I believe that we're going to have to show them some long-term support just for stability for their organization and for the people that we represent and that need their services. I was talking with Nikki yesterday. I've called her a couple times over the past few months and they're always there for the people, no matter where they're from in the municipality. So they're a great organization. We have to stand behind, or I think we have to stand behind them anyway. Thank you.
This is a perfect example, I feel, of when, somebody in our community reaches out. There's a lot of work that goes on in the background. We don't always see that it's happening, but something like this, I think we all understand the importance of it and how it serves our residents. So when they ask, we do what we can to help. So I just wanted to bring it forward so that you were all aware. Next, 11B, we have request for deregistration for 10 Rickers Hill Road, Roberts Island. There is an attachment. So we had a request come forward. So a while ago, over a year ago or so, we used to have a heritage society, then they would make decisions on whether or not properties were registered or deregistered, and then that got phased into with the PAC. So now those requests go to the PAC. So there has been a request that has been made to deregister a property, and that request went to the PAC, and we do have a potential motion. So I'm just going to read the motion, and then I'll let Renee, if he has anything to add. So we have a potential motion to give notice of motion to consider the deregistration of the municipal heritage property at 10 Rickers Hill Road, PID 900512551, and to authorize staff to schedule a public hearing pursuant to Section 16 of the Heritage Property Act. So that is a potential motion. Do you want to give a little bit of background, Renee, before we discuss the motion? Excuse me. Sure. Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just a little background on this application. So it's for 10 Rickers Hill, Roberts Island. The reports regarding a request from the property owner, which is here tonight, to deregister the municipal heritage property designated in 1987, the William Ricker House or Quincy Tree Cottage. So the purpose of the report is just to outline the request. So I'll just summarize the staff report, how it works with the Heritage Property Act in Section 16 applies. So there's no financial impact statement other than staff time and organizing the advertising section of the requirements. So the homeowner has applied to have the property deregistered. The request is based on deterioration of several character-defining elements and their need to complete upgrades necessary for year-round living, energy-efficient safety. So this property was never constructed for year-round work. It was just a seasonal home, summertime only, during the warmer months. So the legislative framework for the Heritage Property Act in Section 16, so the act says that if the property has been destroyed or damaged, or a property has lost its heritage value, to the point where continued registration is inappropriate as long as the loss was not caused by the owner's neglect. Before council can make any decisions, the act requires a public hearing with 30 days written notice to the owner and a newspaper notice published in the local paper. So the key findings from the staff review is that conditions of the character defining element, information was provided and no significant deterioration in the windows, doors, and other heritage elements. Many components are beyond feasible repair using recognized conservation methods. So there's a few roadblocks to this. There is a trade shortage of heritage carpenters in the area. With the carpentry designation and experience ongoing shortage of skilled tradespeople. The modern building code and accessibility requirements, it's with this Heritage Act and designation, it makes it tough to meet today's codes and regulations and to meet the environmental goals and Climate Change Reduction Act as well. So the homeowner reports that deteriorated windows and doors prevent the home from meeting these modern standards replacement. There's also some safety issues too, because some of the windows don't stay up and some are rotted out. So with this designation, it's hindering the modernization, I guess, of this property. So from the conclusion of the report, the information provided, staff concluded that application meets the threshold for council to consider deregistration under section 16(1)(b). That is the claim that continued registration may now be inappropriate due to the loss of heritage value of the property and practical constraints on conservation. So council is not being asked to make financial decisions tonight. The purpose of this step is just to determine whether council wishes to proceed to the public hearing, which is required by legislation before any decisions can be made. So.
Thank you. Is somebody willing to make that motion and have it seconded or possibly seconded so we can discuss it? Okay, so it's moved by Councillor Bork, seconded by Councillor Surratt. Conversation, questions, any questions on that motion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay. Next, we have 11C. So 11C is 1057 Highway 335 demolition. This was brought to us at a previous meeting because it fits under our policy for dangerous and unsightly. So we had already made a decision to have it demolished. So we have 3 different contractors that have given, it's gone out to tender, have given prices. And we have a suggested motion to approve the demolition at 1057 Highway 335 in accordance with the municipality's dangerous and unsightly premises policy, and that the municipality award the demolition contract to Spinney Excavating in the amount of $68,500 plus HST. Is somebody willing to make that motion? So moved. Do we have a seconder? Moved by Councillor Digdon, seconded by Councillor Madden. Do we have any questions or comments on that motion? Councillor Foster.
I have a question. When a company demolishes a building, where does the material go? And how can we be sure that it goes where it's supposed to go? I'm not saying that this is not the case, but I know there have been instances in the past where buildings and such have been smashed and buried. And if one contractor is able to do it substantially cheaper than another, I'm just wondering, how can we be sure that it doesn't get buried in a gravel pit somewhere instead of disposed of properly? That's just a question I'm putting out there.
Sure.
Hopefully somebody would have an answer.
Go ahead, Renee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you. Yeah, so it is written in our bylaw. We do require tipping slips. So once the work is completed, we require those slips from the landfill. So.
Excellent. So I'm glad that guarantee is in there.
Deputy Warden?
Thank you, Warden. Do we have any way of recuperating this cost?
CAO Muse.
Yes, we do. Good question. Yeah, the money questions come my way. Councillor Foster, just to finish the thought on that is there's also some environmental law and legislation that would prevent organizations to do what you would consider to be illegal dumping, and there's a lot of environmental regulations. So outside of the tipping fees, there's also the possibility of fines and other ways that people are deterred from doing that. So just to add to alleviate your concerns and to add to the answer that my colleague has given you on the question of financial. So this is not a cost to the municipality, at least not right away. How it works is that the entirety of the bill is well, first we give the option to the landowner to do it themselves, but we're past that. So now it's about us going in and doing the work, and we would bill the work to their tax bill. So then that individual would then have options around a plan to pay that over the course of time. There are provisions in our policy that allow that. Outside of that, some people, will refuse, and it's just like anyone else that doesn't pay their taxes. After 2 years, it would become eligible for tax sale. And the way that we would recoup our money there is that the opening bid would be all of the costs of taxes and interest, et cetera. As you can imagine, that will be a big number if there's no payment made on this. So, of course, the gambit, or it's not a gambit, it's not a gamble, but the hope, of course, that we have is that the property, once cleaned up, has a value that exceeds the cost of cleaning up. And if that's the case, then we get a bid and boom, it's gone. There's other ways that this can be recovered. It doesn't have to go to tax sale, for instance. There's other options. If Johnny Lively wants to buy the property, that person can go to the owner and negotiate a deal, and that can be done without us being involved at all. But when those things happen, what happens when you have a transaction? The taxes have to be satisfied. That becomes part of the negotiated price. So those are the ways that we would recover most, if not all, of our costs. You have the risk that if it goes to tax sale, that the opening bid is not made. And there's rules around that. I'm being very specific because there are very specific rules around it. And if that's the case, then it comes to tax sale again. And so if there's a second time where there's no bid or there's no tender, you can actually go out to tender. The council may, at that point, reduce the bid on that property to a number that they believe to be representative of what you can receive for the property. In that case, you will lose money. Because if the bill is $75,000 on and there's, opening bid is 45 and it's made, and that's the final, you'll lose the difference. We have seen that in the past. Once in 20 years, I've seen it. We've also seen, for the most part, we've seen the opposite. That the value of the property exceed the demolition. In this case, your risk is higher because the demolition is of a very large building. However, the location is highly sought, so we're hopeful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Foster?
I guess I just wanted to stress the point. It's not so much that I'm concerned that the debris from the demolition would be improperly handled. I was curious to know how we can be assured that that would not happen. Because I looked at the contractors, and they're all very reputable companies, and they've been in operation for some time. So I trust them fully, but I was curious to know, if one comes in 10, 15,000 cheaper than the other, how can we be sure that they're going through all the proper hoops? That's all.
Thank you. Okay, next we have, say that again?
Did we move?
We didn't vote. Thank you. Councillor Digdon, is that what you were going to say? Okay. Any other questions on that one? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Councillor Digdon?
I just didn't want to say what I was going to say before the vote because I didn't know if I was going to actually say it or not. But I'd just like to thank, I first want to thank our CAO and his staff for all the work that they've done to get us to where we are this evening. And then I'd like to thank the fellow councillors for voting the way they did this evening. This building is in a location where there's quite a few businesses around it, quite a few family dwellings around it. And we had a fire at that location years ago of another couple of buildings, and it done a lot of damage around. And that was on a beautiful evening where the fire departments, because there was about 11 departments down there, could respond relatively quick, and there was still a lot of damage that those buildings created. So there was a lot of concern over this building in the community and also by our fire protection committee. And when I reached out to our CAO and asked him for help to get us to where we are tonight, he came on board with us, and I just want to thank everyone for coming up with the decision that we came up with this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 11D, we have provincial budget cuts. So we, Deputy Warden and I kind of chatted about this and thought it might be a good idea to have this on here so that we just kind of like what is going to be the most impactful for us as municipalities. What do we have to worry about? What should we be doing? Should we be sending letters? So I asked our CAO if he could give kind of a quick summary as to, did you hear that? A quick summary as to, and things have changed, like over the last 2 weeks too. We've heard about cuts, then cuts have been eliminated. Like it's kind of been all over the place. So thank you. Oh, I have to press your button.
It would have been a very quick summary if you didn't go by. This is a moving target, so I am going to go very fast. So directly to municipalities. There are 4 application-based, you're all aware of, I think, because I gave you the correspondence. I'm saying this for the benefit
Yes.
of people listening that are concerned. There are 4 application-based funding models for the municipality that were eliminated. Permanently or temporarily, I cannot say. It's at least this year, and they're not, I don't think they're changing it. And so, and I did brief you on the 4, I'm gonna mention them. There's the PCAP, which is the Provincial Capital Assistance Program, the GRID, or I call it the GRIP because I'm trying to get a grip around it, but it's the GRID program, which is an infrastructure funding program of $15 million across Nova Scotia. The PCAP, I don't know what it is, but it's usually small ball applications for planning for wastewater changes. So perfect illustration for you is the red cap improvements that are happening or are almost completed were under the PCAP program. Illustration on the GRID program would be your Tusket industrial park improvements that are underway slowly, but recently completed would be the Tusket treatment plant revitalization. That was under the GRID program. The other 2 are much smaller. One we've never applied for under flood risk assessments, but we don't do that. And the other one is the Municipal Innovation Program, which we have gone and sought money in there in the past. That is, as the name suggests, innovative solutions to problems, mostly regional based. So we were actually, if you recall, we had a conversation about the modernization of the Mariner Center and the Yarmouth Airport and how we were going to do that. That was the fund we were going to get money from. So we opened the door and there was nothing behind the door. So we'll have to find another way. So what the residents should be concerned about, and you as council about that, 2 things. One is, first, it's an application-based system. There's no guarantee that we would have gotten that money even if it didn't go away. That's a very important point. The second point is that under the biggest one, the GRID program, we still have an outstanding project under that, which is the wastewater improvements in the industrial park. We cannot get funding if we still have one outstanding, and we fully predict that it will still be outstanding at the time that the applications would be due. So we weren't going to get that money anyway. That's what I'm trying to say. So the impact on municipality for this year is low. However, if it continues, the impact on the municipality is more concerning. Because if we don't have funding to improve things, we have to find ways to preventatively maintain these things in an improved manner so that we don't have to improve them. So what you might see is indirect costs to the municipality around pump changes, or like, I'm just giving an illustration, right? So there's those, like the operational side of things may have to kick in a little higher, may or may not, but it is a possibility. And other budget cuts, and this will go a lot quicker, is recreation. There are some recreation cuts. You all are aware of the, in some ways, 100% cuts on arts and culture, or 20% cuts to museums. So specifically to Argyle, that would mean that the Village Historique Acadien would receive a 20% cut in funding. To my knowledge, that's the only museum that would be on that list that is located in Argyle. So the courthouse and archives here in Tuscany, they don't get funding under that model. The Musée Acadien, though they would have loved to have been on the list, maybe they're thankful they're not today, because they didn't get their funding cut because they never had funding to cut. Also, the Tuna Museum in Wedgeport, I don't think that they receive any museum funding. I could be wrong about that, and if they do, again, 20% funding cut. Quite sure it doesn't apply to them. So under tourism, there are some cuts to our programs. So some of the things that our tourism leaders go after for physical activity initiatives and maybe senior support initiatives. Some of, like, there's funds called the Thrive provincial funding. Those will be impacted. The impact to us, we will feel, but those are smaller numbers. The Western Wren, your economic development arm, will have a reduction potential of provincial funding. They will change the way the province is funding these things. So where it used to be an operational grant, you exist, therefore I give you money, it is now an application-based, and more people are in the pool to apply for that money. So what does that mean for the Western Wren? I don't think it means they'll get more money. It might mean they get less money, but it could mean they get the same amount of money. So that's ambiguous for a reason, because I have no idea, because it really does base on what their interests are to fund this. What they're also saying is that they're taking a step away from the Western Wren. They're no longer part of the Liaison and Oversight Committee. So some of you are on that committee. You meet maybe once a year or twice, not really that often. The province is at that table. Well, no longer at that table, which is not a good sign. Because that's usually like step 1 to step 2. And step 2 doesn't feel very positive. So the other thing I would say is, and this is just what we hear on the news, is that Tim Houston, our premier, has backed away from some of these cuts. So the ones that I've mentioned are not part of his restoration of funding, okay? But he did, make a decision to back away from mostly funding supporting seniors, Aboriginals, African Nova Scotians, other areas, but still there are some cultural things that they remain cut. And the last thing I will say about provincial cuts is that they did not cut library funding, but the libraries have been asking for an increase for many, many, many years. So they haven't received inflationary increases of any sort. So they maintain that funding. I know that perhaps libraries should be thankful that they didn't get cut, but that doesn't necessarily cut it for them. And so that will potentially put pressure on you. Each and every one of these cuts may be putting indirect pressure on you, because if the province isn't supporting something, you might be asked to support it. So I'll stop there, because that's more of a political discussion, but I just wanted to give you the landscape of what we know today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments? Any thoughts on that? Concerns? Any suggestions as to what we could potentially Councillor Bork.
My concern is, yes, Alain had mentioned that they'll probably come to us looking for money. So I think it's a concern for us. He mentioned the libraries hasn't been cut, but there's no bridge funding anymore. They won't be having any bridge funding, so they'll probably have to go into their reserves so I don't know what's gonna happen there. So maybe this year will be fine, but the next year's, I don't know. So we'll have to work that out. So that's my concern, is that with all these cuts, people are gonna be coming to us, to their local government.
Agree.
So, and it hasn't been passed yet, so we
No.
don't know. Maybe things will change, hopefully.
That's true.
So I don't know if does the municipality or even, certain sectors should be sending letters and continue sending letters to the premier, to the government to say, hey, this is important. Just in tourism, I mean, they closed down the tourist bureaus. Where are the tourists gonna go? Like, if they're closing museums. An example, I know this is not in our municipality, but it's in our neighbor, the old woolen, the Barrington, the woolen mill, right?
Yes, that's correct.
They're gonna close that one, so, that's a direct hit. And that brings tourism there, so, I don't know. I think we're gonna have to holler a little bit, maybe a little louder, maybe for our residents and
So
for our-
are you suggesting maybe we send a letter?
Yeah, sure, we should.
Okay. Would you like to?
Why
make-
not?
Would you like to make a motion to that?
I'll make the motion that we send a letter to reconsider.
Outlining our concerns. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Digdon. Any other questions or comments? Deputy Warden?
Should we do this by ourselves, or should we ask other communities to do the same thing?
I know I have been receiving, as warden, from other municipalities. We're forwarded on a lot of those letters, and the letters have started.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Good, thank you. 11, we have 11E, F, and G that were added on by Councillor Foster, so we will let you have the floor.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So the first one on the agenda does it have to do with Lent's Corner in Tuscan?
Whatever you would like to, whichever one you would like
Okay,
to bring up first.
okay. I've had a safety issue brought to my concern about a tree obstruction at Lent's Corner in Tuscan. For the benefit of the councillors who may not be familiar with the area, it's the corner that drops down and goes into Hubbard's Point, Amiros Hill, and to the end of Morris Island. There's an old general store on the corner there that is now known as the Hanging Oak Antique Shop. It's only open by appointment and on a seasonal basis. But anyway, as you come over the hill and you drop down the hill, there's a driveway that goes in immediately behind the store. And it forms a semicircle, and then there's an exit to that driveway, and the trees are growing right into the roadway. So the big trucks are rubbing and hooking into the tree branches extended over the road. There was at least one very close call. What happened is there was a vehicle from Hubbard's Point that came over the top of the hill, and as it came down the hill, the car turning into the driveway behind the Hanging Oak Antique Shop was stopped right in the middle of the road. It was a very close call in terms of a rear-ending situation. And there's large trucks that come there, rockweed trucks, fuel trucks, and they rub into the branches. And some of these trucks are quite nice and well-maintained, and they have a tendency to drive over the center line to avoid the branches. So I've written a letter to you folks, and I sent out a few days ago, which you probably had the chance to read. And the only thing that I didn't include in the letter was the issue of the vehicles coming over the yellow line to avoid the tree branches. When you write a letter or when you make a speech or something, you always think later of something you should have included. I didn't include that part. But I've got a couple of letters here, but I will read this one, but I won't read the other one because we're already familiar with the situation. So the letter is addressed to Warden and fellow councillors. I am writing to bring forward a safety concern regarding the area at the bottom of the hill at Lent's Corner, Hanging Oak Antique Shop in Tusket. Several trees along the roadway are currently blocking the view of a driveway's entrance and exit. Because of this obstruction, drivers approaching from the crest of the hill are often unable to see vehicles entering or leaving the driveway until the last moment. There have already been a number of close calls where motorists have had to brake suddenly to avoid a potential collision. In addition, some of the trees along the roadside are being struck or clipped by large trucks as they pass by, which further highlights the concern about how close the trees are to the roadway. I have received several complaints from residents in the area who share these concerns. They would very much appreciate having the trees trimmed or cut back so that the entrance and exit of the driveway are clearly visible to approaching traffic. There should also be adequate signage advising motorists of a hidden driveway located immediately behind the store at the bottom of the hill. As this is an ongoing safety issue, your attention to this matter would be greatly appreciated. Addressing the visibility at this location would help reduce the risk of accidents and improve safety for both residents and motorists traveling through the area. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I have copied our MLA, Colton LeBlanc, and also the area manager for Nova Scotia Department of Public Works. I would like to make a motion that we send a letter on behalf of council to the Department of Public Works, and I believe that we could, use a lot of the information that's contained in the letter that I wrote to Highways,
Okay,
if that would be okay.
sure. Do we have a seconder to Councillor Foster's motion? Okay, second.
Okay.
Do we have any questions, comments, concerns? Councillor Surratt?
Thank you, Madam Warden. Just wondering, like, I'm glad you CC'd our MLA and the area manager. I was wondering if you had tried to call them. This is a really specific situation, and if it's a hazard situation, I wonder if they're aware. And if you had tried to reach them before, like, writing a letter?
No, I have not.
Because I'd be curious if you called, if they'd respond.
Right.
And because it's a really
Right.
specific situation.
I find it is much more effective and efficient to put things in writing when it comes to getting action. I have mentioned things to the area manager for Public Works at times, and I found that by putting it in writing, it is tremendously more effective and more efficient. It's easy to forget. I mean, the area manager, he may go to Tim Hortons and receive 10 or 15 complaints from residents about dangerous road situations. He may be just in a lineup to buy coffee and not have something to write with in his hand. So by writing letters, you've got a paper trail, and I find it's much more effective.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments for Councillor Foster? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried.
I would just like to mention that although this place is technically in Councillor Madden's district, it affects my district much more than Councillor Madden's. I've said before, the Municipality of Argyle, if you want to look at a map, just look at your hand. You have the inland areas which represent the top of your hand, like Gableton, Quinn, and East Camp. But then the coastal communities, they're all points of land jutting out into Lobster Bay. So everybody that lives from Hubbard's Point to Morse Island has to go through there. to go to town or Tuscan or what have you, to get services. Because there's no post office in my district. There's no gas station in my district. There's no general store in my district. And all the traffic comes through there to get to where the services are provided. The next item, if you go into your mail, it's about the flooding situation at the fork in the road between Highway 3 and 308. I was able to get the video out to you folks today through Scott, our technician, and Chantal. So if you had a chance to check your email before the meeting, you will have had the opportunity to see the video and the photos. I tried to send the video, it didn't get through. I tried to send the photos, only one got through. I have on video a pipe coming out of the side of the building, and there's water gushing out of that pipe like you wouldn't believe. It's quite obvious what's happening. Is the house is pumping out what appears to be a flooded basement, and it's going right across the road. And apparently what happened in the past is that the sump pump was hooked up to the Tuscan sewer system, and it was overwhelming or causing a major problem for the Tuscan sewer system. And they were told to discontinue doing that, so they simply took the pipe out of the sewer system and left it on the lawn, or part of the lawn, and it's now going into the driveway, which is serving as like a stream bed or a conduit for the water. And you know how water works, path of least resistance. And it's going across the two roads and into the parking lot at the north of Carl Store and into the river, which is the ultimate destination. So it's creating a problem at night when the temperature drops to below freezing. You've got dry pavement, and all of a sudden, you're driving across a skating rink. If the temperature drops down to -4 or 5 degrees Celsius, you got a solid sheet of ice across the road. And this has been, I mean, I know at this time of year, you've got snow melt, and you're having a little bit of this issue, but this has been an ongoing concern. And I have video, so the problem in the past has been with the Department of Transportation or Public Works. We can't identify the source of the water. Well, I have pictures and I have video. It's quite obvious where the water is coming from. Anyway, so I'd like to, again, I wrote a letter to you folks here explaining the situation. And I'd like to see a letter go out to the Department of Highways and perhaps the video, or the video could be shared with whoever might be concerned, such as the owner of the building, showing him that this situation needs to be solved, because we're getting a lot of complaints about this situation. I know Councillor Madden has been getting complaints as well.
So tell me your motion, Councillor Foster.
My motion would be that, well, I guess I have it on a summary sheet here. Just take me a minute. Forward video and pictures taken of the situation on March 9th, 2026 to all persons concerned, and take necessary action to resolve this matter, which may include a written letter to Nova Scotia Department of Public Works.
Okay. Do we have a seconder to that motion? Okay, seeing none, the motion is not a motion,
Okay?
okay? Councillor or Deputy Warden Saunier.
I need more information, so I understand that snow melt or rainwater going across a road, if it becomes hazardous, would probably be a Department of Highways problem, and they would have to fix it. However, a sub pump issue, who's liable? Do we know who's liable for that? If that's adding to or creating it, I'd like to get that answer. I know if I was pumping on my basement would go across the road, I wouldn't be surprised if someone came after me and said, you know, you're liable for what you're doing here. So it's a double whammy. I'd like to have more information as to who's responsible here.
Okay.
Councillor Bork?
Yes, I guess, Ted, you said what I was gonna say. I'd like to know if it's the person's house that's creating the problem, well, we have to know for sure that that's what it is. Before you send a letter out to anyone, you have to know exactly what's going on. So if we can find that out, then we can make sure we're sending the letters to the right people.
Well, all I can say is I have it on video, and I've shared the video with you folks, and I have several photos which I have shared with you as well. In my opinion, that's pretty good evidence of what the source of the problem is.
Councillor Madden?
Thank you, Madam Warden. To you, Councillor Foster, I've been dealing with this on the side with Kyle. Kyle has been dealing with Public Works. They're trying to figure out what's what. I've been talking to the landowner or the landlord. So yes, he has flooding in his cellar, but the water is coming from the back of his property. There's no ditch. Like if I have water in my cellar and it goes out to the ditch. There's no ditch in front of his building, so it has to go somewhere.
Yes.
To my understanding, there was some work done for maybe 7, 8 years ago behind his property. Before that, he had no problem. So something has happened at that location that is causing this, and they're having a hard time to figure out what. The landlord did tell me about 2 years ago, he cleared out in back of that property, had a lot of brush and the fetchak, I'm gonna call it.
Okay.
And when he did that, it made the problem worse, which he didn't realize he was gonna do, but he was just clearing his land like everybody else does. Since then, it's grown, he's much better. But as far as pinpointing the problem on this landlord, he's gotta do something with that water. If that was your house, you'd want to do something with it. So the problem is not he taking the water out of his cellar and putting it out there. The problem is it's coming in his cellar and he has to do something. So I didn't second the motion because it's a work in progress, and I know that Public Works knows about it. Maybe not be a priority, but if we keep talking about it, it might be. But it's not a solution that we can do by getting angry and pointing fingers. We just have to find the source and find out who's responsible and get it done. So, thank you.
Thank you. CAO Muse?
Through you, Madam Chair, and really just as a follow-up for Councillor Madden's comments about the work that's being done here, we are in communication. So there's a storm drain at the front of that property that is owned by the Department of Highways, and we're trying to examine, the water has to go somewhere, right? And so right now it's crossing the street, and that's not okay. We are actively investigating alternate ways to deal with that so it doesn't cross the water and cause any problems or any accidents or any risks there. So we are actively working with the Department of Transportation on that matter. There may be a decision that comes to this council around spending, because there is, while that particular asset is owned by them, there are other assets in that location, i.e., our sidewalk and our wastewater that we own. So if there may be a situation where if we are to do this, we have to consider whether or not we would have some sort of responsibility financially for this, because it's not, some of it is certainly assets that we own and some of it are assets that they own. So I'm hoping that we get to resolution on that. I've spoke on this with Kyle this week, and his team, they certainly agree there's an issue there. So we're actively investigating, and we thank you for raising this.
Thank you. Councillor Foster, G?
Well, CAO Muse partially answered one of my questions. I was wondering, if you have a sidewalk there, there must be a system for capturing rainwater underneath the sidewalk and disposing of it. And it looks like the hose is going right in the driveway and just running across the road. And I was wondering if perhaps that water could be directed to the water disposal system under the sidewalk. I don't know, maybe that's a possibility.
Through you, Madam Chair, thank you for the question. There is a drain there. If you may recall, back in the day, sidewalks, when they were initially constructed, were the responsibility of the provincial government. So this one is one of those cases where
Okay.
it was constructed pre-1988 or 86. And so there are some assets there that continue to be owned by the municipality and that continue to be owned by the province. You're quite right, that could potentially be a solution where we reroute the water, and we're actively investigating that. The expansion of that, the grate system that might accept that water, there's all sorts of possibilities there. But the good news is, if there's a drain, there's a pipe.
That's right.
And the pipe goes under and out, and we
Yes.
know that
Yes.
it goes out behind Carl's store. So that's the good news. So whatever solution, hopefully it would be economically feasible to solve once we get to the bottom of it.
Okay, very good. And finally, my last item, I received a response from MLA Colton LeBlanc, which I shared with you folks, regarding the end of Highway 308 in Morris Island. And he says, "Hello, Greg. In follow-up to our conversation last week, I reached out to area manager about concerns regarding the end of Highway 308 in Morris Island. She has advised that the District Traffic Authority is reviewing the request and examining the situation to inform changes to regulatory signage. Though I do not have an exact timeline at this time, I'll let you know when further details are made available. If there are other road matters, please do not hesitate to reach out to me, my office, or the Department of Public Works Operation Contact Center as appropriate. Thank you, Colton. Colton LeBlanc, MLA Argyle." I wanted to share that with the viewers to let them know that the situation is being handled by the proper authorities.
Okay.
And thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will move on to number 12 for correspondence and information. We have a bunch of correspondence that has come through, and I feel like since the budget has come through as well, we've been getting more and more. So 12A, correspondence from the Department of Justice regarding RCMP retroactive pay liability. So that was good news for us. We are not responsible for paying that retroactive pay. 12B, correspondence from NSFM, membership update on Bill 186, support for Fire Protection Services Act. There's been a couple of meetings going on about the changes that are coming. So there's a summary that they sent kind of what they've been discussing. 12C, correspondence from NSFM regarding membership update on Bill 212 and Act respective of administrative measures for housing. So that outlines some changes in CAO's roles with housing. 12D, department head report from February. So that is therefore under correspondence information. It was deferred from our last meeting. 12E, correspondence Department of Emergency Management, our final REMO standards. And 12F, correspondence from Department of Growth and Development, 2026-27 funding. This one talks a bit about the REN, kind of as CAO Muse has already discussed with us. Are there any questions, comments on those? Seeing, Councillor Digdon.
Yes, I've been looking over the correspondence from Department of Emergency Management and the final REMO standards. The only thing I'm a little concerned there is, and again, and I hope I'm wrong, but I hope it doesn't happen with the fire department review and the changes that are coming over with the fire departments in Nova Scotia. And what I'm just scared of there is some of these acts and standards are being set by a provincial government, and it's supposed to be taken care of by your municipalities, but I'm just scared there financially down the road, that it's gonna cost our residents more and more. And, you know, it's great for the provincial government to come up and say, okay, here's gonna be the standards and everything, we're gonna help you out, but as we know with our REMO coordinator, they're gonna help us out the first year or so, and then the second year is gonna be slide and scale, and the third or fourth year, so it's gonna be 100% the municipalities' responsibility as far as, that's just, I'm a little nervous about how this is all gonna play out and how much it's gonna actually cost in the long run to our residents.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will move on to our financial request, number 13. Oops. 13A. We have a request from Yarmouth Life Skills, emergency furnace repair. This was a request that we received a little while ago from Yarmouth Life Skills requesting, it's been a bit, I have to remember, their furnace it's beyond repair. Replacement, the cost would be $15,162. So they have reached out, from my understanding, they're asking for $4,000 from each municipality to partner to cover this emergency funding. So this request has come to council. What I think, am I able to share what the other municipalities have done? So I believe that the town of Yarmouth has denied this request, and the municipality of Yarmouth has also, not that they've denied it, but they've asked them to apply to their grants to organizations program. So what is the wish of this council? Deputy Warden Sonia.
Thank you, Warden. Do we have stats? Do we know how much of our seniors use this facility?
It's not just seniors, I don't believe. It is also, so it's similar to the Kay Nickerson Center type clientele. I'm not sure if we have stats on that.
You know.
We do not, no. Personally, I have concerns because I worry about if we open up this can of worms, how many more times are we going to, when there are other organizations that have breakdowns and come to us, and, I mean, our purse is getting tighter and tighter, and just as Councillor Digdon said, we have other things that are likely going to be, and I don't like to use the word downloaded, but downloaded on us. I worry about, is this opening a door that may be bigger than we anticipate? So that's just my thoughts. But, Councillor Bork.
So I would ask them to go through our grant process as well.
Okay,
I think that's the way to go.
you're going to make that a motion?
Yes, I'll make that a motion.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Digdon. Any questions or comments on that? Councillor Digdon?
Thank you. I agree 100% wholeheartedly with Councillor Bork. And the only thing I am looking at here, I actually, it's a great market and that they have on Saturday mornings. I tend to go in quite a bit when I can. But I do know they were talking about, it being cold in February. At least right now we're going the right way. It's getting warmer. And a lot of the times when you go in, the door's always wide open there now. So I think we do have time, and they have time to wait a little while here now. But I agree with Councillor Bork 100%.
Any other
Thank you.
comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Next, 13B, we have a council community grant request for District 9, Le Réveil de Pumco, $700. So there is a suggested motion to approve a council community grant in the amount of $700 for Le Réveil de Pumco. Is there somebody willing to make that motion? Moved by Councillor Surratt. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Deputy Warden Saunier. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. 13C, we have another community grant request. We have a suggested motion to approve a council community grant in the amount of $300 for the Plymouth Cemetery. Somebody willing to make that motion? Moved by Deputy Warden, seconder. Seconded by Councillor Boudreau. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. 13D, we have a suggested motion to approve a council community grant in the amount of $700 for the Pubnico Dog Park Association. Is somebody willing to make that a motion? Moved by Councillor Surratt, seconded by Councillor Madden. Any questions on that? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. And 13E, there is a suggested motion to approve a council community grant in the amount of $700 for La Société Touristique de Bon Temps d'Argyle. Is somebody willing to make that motion? Moved by Councillor Madden, seconded by Councillor Digdon. Questions on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. 14, agenda topics for our next meeting or notice of motion by councillors. Are there any councillors that have any agenda topics or notice of motions? Okay, seeing none, question period. Are there any questions? Question period?
We do.
Thank you.
So the questions I'm able to answer. One question was, is the provincial sidewalk being in question? Is the Plymouth sidewalk being in question with these cuts? Could we please put a priority on this project? So the priority part, I can't comment on. That's a priority of council, but it's a great question around funding. So the answer is there's some notable cuts in provincial trail-related grants. However, these cuts are mostly for smaller planning grants. So we wouldn't be applying for funding there anyway for something that's already planned. Thankfully, the larger funding avenues for this kind of trail system are federal. So there are quite a few federal options here, and those were always going to be our priority anyway. Is there potentially an avenue where we could have gone provincially that we no longer have? That is entirely possible. What I did commit to the constituent was that I would go back to the province, ask that specific question, and since the individual is in your district, I will provide that information to you for more specific information as it relates to that. Okay. The other question is the fire review a concern to taxpayers where we could be downloaded expenses through this review? That again is a very good question. What I know about the fire review that the province has led is that it's first, these recommendations for the most part are coming from fire departments. So it isn't necessarily something that the province has just dreamt up. It has been a collaborative effort that has gone on for years. There is a 100% probability that the recommendations that they're making for us will increase the costs of fire to the municipalities that are sponsoring fire services in their community. Is it a form of download? Yes, it is. You could certainly, say that about this. Now, however, as a council, you already made the decision to get into some of these changes and improvements, and many of these improvements are aligned with the study that was done in the municipality regarding, the need for more training, the need for all the recommendations. I won't go on and on, but so they're certainly aligned with that. So the good part about this is so if you want to, yes, there will be downloadable things. There'll also be funding provincially. I know they announced $3 million in this draft budget for this. That doesn't buy you any equipment. I mean, $3 million buys you 2 trucks and a sock, I think maybe, but it's not for that. It's probably for planning and for other things that you have to do in preparation of that. But that's actually a good thing for us because we didn't have that option before. We're ahead of the game a little bit, so we actually could take advantage of provincial funding to do precisely what council wanted to do in the first place. Last thing I'll say about this is there will be a cost, whether they download it or not, there will be a cost around improved training and increasing the talent and equipment quality of all fire departments. And that's something that we will be looking at over the course of time. We've talked about how fire needs to have a more centralized approach, that purchases really shouldn't be done, how do you say in English, à la Val-Drag?
Willy-nilly.
Willy-nilly. willy-nilly. They shouldn't be done willy-nilly, and
That sounds better.
yeah, Valdrag is way better. So, and so those things would be controlled more, there's cost savings around centralizing purchases. I could go on and on. So yes, it'll cost us more. However, yes, it'll be more coordinated. And there are certain areas in our fire right now that we probably need to shift our focus away from so that we can prioritize improving the fire services in some way with what the province said, but also equally in what you desire. Yeah, I mean, it's a long answer, but it's a very complicated question. Again, that's a great point. Like, so they said 3 million this year. They're gonna put more money in this, and they're gonna put it over a multitude of years. So we might see a situation like that. So we have a lot of work to do, because we have to we had to anyway, but we have to understand where the fire departments are. Like, where are they? Financially, equipment, and that work is being led effectively by Everett, our fire coordinator. Hopefully he's making some good relationships, maybe he's breaking some eggs here and there, but it's been quite a process, and we're very, very thankful for it, because it's needed. And I've had some chiefs say, this is a brilliant hire. He's really helping us. So for that, I am grateful. And that's a great question, and I think I should probably stop there.
Was that it for questions?
I think, yes.
Okay. So next, we'll look at number 16, in camera. So we do have an in-camera item, section 22.2, personnel matters. Can we have a motion to go in camera? You have a seconder, seconded